This video is brought to you by Blinkist. The first 100 people to go to Blinkist.com/TopTenz will get unlimited access for 1 week to try it out. You'll also get 25% off if you want the full membership. More on them in a bit. Espionage is perhaps as old as war itself. From infiltrating an enemy camp to kill the general to general intelligence gathering, espionage tactics have largely remained the same throughout most of history. As warfare evolved and entered the modern era, however, so did the tools and techniques of espionage. Today, spies are equipped with far better and deadlier tools than history. That's obviously the tools and techniques that we know of, as we only know about most of them due to operatives getting caught using them. The best espionage tactics are the ones that have remained hidden throughout history, toppling empires and changing the course of history, like few other warfare tactics have been able to do. Of course, that doesn't mean that we know nothing about spycraft. Thanks to declassified files and information gathered from captured operatives, we've come to know of quite a few creative and fascinating espionage tactics that have been used to great success throughout history. And here's our pick of the best of them. Number 10. False flag operations. The term false flag operation has its roots in naval warfare, wherein enemy ships would purposefully fly the flag of a friendly nation to trick a fleet into peacefully letting them on board, and then, well, you know how war works. It has since come to define any espionage operation that seeks to meet a specific strategic objective by putting the blame on someone other than the party carrying it out. Obviously, that means that we don't have any legitimate examples of such an operation, as a false flag everyone knows about isn't technically a false flag. Still, many events in recent history have been suspected to be the result of false flag operations carried out by covert operatives. Just take the fire at the Reichstag, the home of the German parliament in 1933, as one of its most infamous examples. While the event was squarely blamed on a communist called Marinus van der Lubbe and used as an excuse to persecute communist sympathizers in the government, many historians suspect that it was actually the Nazis themselves that had it carried out. Like most other successful false flag operations, though, we may never know. Number 9. Sun Tzu's doomed spies. One of the primary problems in spycraft is double agents, as no matter how good your spies are, there's always a scary, even if small chance that they've turned on you and now actually serve the enemy. To counter that, The Art of War, a 5th century BC treatise on warfare written by the famed Chinese strategist Sun Tzu, provides many rather simple and foolproof methods. One of them was the doomed spy, which entailed doing certain things just for the benefit of the operatives that may be hiding in your camp. Different from the classic double agent in the way that it didn't require going through the hassle of seeking out spies and turning them to your side, as you never know how many of them there are out there, it sent the information you wanted the enemy to know with minimal effort. As Sun Tzu's techniques are still used in the field to this day, provided how effective they've proven to be over the centuries, it's safe to say that many intelligence agencies still deploy this technique to design their military strategies. Though again, if we knew which ones they are, it wouldn't be a very effective tactic, would it? Number 8. Non-human operatives. It's hard to think of animals as potentially covert operatives, mostly because it's difficult, almost impossible, to teach them the intricacies of modern geopolitics. However, there have been many officially unconfirmed reports of countries using animals for spy operations in the last few decades, to the extent that it would be unfair to completely write them off as a possibility. Take the recent story of a beluga whale that was found in Norwegian waters, complete with a tight harness with the words "Equipment of St. Petersburg" imprinted inside, and a mount to hold something like a camera or a weapon. While Russian authorities refused to identify it as one of their own, Norwegian researchers were sure that it was one of many Russian animal spies used to gather intelligence in the region. Then there's the reports of the US military using a unit of dolphins to guard its fleet during the Vietnam War, as well as sniffing out mines in the Persian Gulf in 1987. One ex-Navy veteran who claimed to be a part of a covert dolphin training program even claimed that some of these dolphins were trained to kill spies with syringes full of carbon dioxide. Number 7. The crooked picture bomb. It's a well-known fact that during their retreat at the end of World War II, the Nazis were adept at leaving behind clever booby traps to incapacitate Allied soldiers looking for weapons or supplies. That included the usual stuff like cartridge boxes or food packets rigged with explosives, though these really only targeted lower-ranking officers. The higher-ups didn't really care about shiny weapons or food. For them, the Nazis had the crooked picture bomb. Usually placed in abandoned military headquarters, this trap involved purposefully tilting a picture on the wall a bit towards the side. While lower-ranked soldiers rarely bothered with something like that, this wasn't the case for the officers, who were more likely to care about framed art and fix it. When they did, the frame would explode in their face, instantly killing or incapacitating them. Number 6. Invisible ink. Invisible ink may sound too obvious to be a successful espionage technique today, though that's just because of how many times it has been used in spy movies. That wasn't the case during World War I, however, when the concept was still widely unknown. Recently released documents reveal that invisible ink wasn't just widely used by spies throughout the war, but that there were many ways to do it. One was soaking a starched handkerchief in nitrate and soda, which could then be soaked in water and turned into invisible ink to write coded messages on the fly. Then there was the classic lemon juice, which worked well enough as invisible ink to be widely used by both sides. The messages could be revealed just by heating the paper, making it a rather effective way of passing coded messages at a time when cryptography was still in its infancy. Now, if you're looking to crack the code on how to download the best book straight into that big brain of yours, then you should take a look at today's video sponsor, Blinkist. How many times have you seen a book and thought, I bet that's really interesting. I wonder if I could read it in 14 minutes. If you're like me, it happens all of the time. I mean, reading is great, but there's other things to do in life. I can't just sit down for 3 days in the middle of the week and read a book cover to cover, can you? Fortunately, there is Blinkist, which condenses that meaty hardback you've been staring at down into a quick summary like Cliff Notes, but made for adulting. With Blinkist, you can read a book on your lunch break, or better yet, do what I do and listen to a book summary, just like a podcast. Like I walk to work every day, so I just pop in my headphones and I fire up the Blinkist app, and by the time I've reached the studio, I've listened to a whole new book, or at least Blinkist's short version of it. It's fantastic for multitaskers. Blinkist has 14 million users and more than 4,500 non-fiction titles to peruse. For example, if you're a fan of TopTenz, you might like to check out a 13-minute summary of Dan Harris's book 10% Happier: How I Tamed the Voice in My Head, Reduced Stress Without Losing My Edge, and Found Self-Help That Actually Works. So if you're interested in learning big ideas in small packages, head to Blinkist.com/TopTenz, where the first 100 people will get a week to try out Blinkist for free. You'll also get 25% off if you want the full membership. Again, 7-day trial, cancel anytime, Blinkist.com/TopTenz, and let's get into the top 5. Number 5, foldering. Ever since the advent of the internet, email has been an effective potential method of exchanging secret information, as it relies on just the decentralized internet instead of a particular messaging network that could be monitored and sabotaged. However, as counter-espionage tech got better at tracking them, it's now almost impossible to use emails as an effective method of communication. While it may seem like an impossible problem to solve, it's not. Just don't send the mail and save it to drafts. Operatives, especially terrorists, have been caught using this technique to effectively send and receive messages for quite some time now, and according to counter-terrorism experts, it's quite difficult to counter. It doesn't leave any digital signature that could be used to track the sender or receiver of the message. Moreover, the messages and drafts could be further coded in secret, cryptographically coded languages. Number 4, dead drop. In traditional espionage, a dead drop refers to a method of passing information which doesn't require the two parties to ever meet, communicating only through secret locations. It sounds intuitive, but this simple technique has been used throughout history to protect the identities of individual spies, even if dead drop was only recently coined by an FBI special agent. We know that it was widely used during the Cold War, as recently released documents have shown. While it works the best when it's used physically, a dead drop could also be implemented digitally for a variety of purposes. As an example, online dark web dealers regularly use it as the preferred method of delivery, using a combination of anonymous browsers like Tor, cryptocurrencies, and the old-school technique of trusting a stranger to carry it out. Just complete the deal online, physically hide the package at a pre-specified destination, like under a public bus seat, and tell the customer its precise location with photographs. This technique was widely used by a dark web market out of Moscow, though again, we only know about it because someone was caught. Given how effective it is, dead drops are still presumably widely in use by spies, journalists, online drug dealers, and a bunch of other people that require anonymity to operate. Number 3, Steganography. Steganography refers to the umbrella craft of hiding information in a publicly accessible place. While some of the other entries on this list would fall under this category, like invisible ink, they're only examples of a wide field of study, much like cryptography. Similar to cryptography, steganography has quite a few potential uses in spycraft, as you'd expect. While the technique has been used to great effect throughout history, the age of computers and the internet has made it even more relevant, especially for counterterrorism and cybersecurity. As its most basic example, hackers regularly encode bits of malicious information in the least important parts of a file, which could be anything from a document to a video, to pass through detection software. There were even some reports in 2001 suggesting that Al-Qaeda is using the same method to pass information to operatives around the world using pornographic files, though till now no evidence of it has ever been found. Number 2. Canary Trap. When you have a lot of suspected spies around you, it becomes difficult to catch all of them. A relatively foolproof technique that has worked against that through the ages has now come to be known as a canary trap. Basically, just give different false pieces of information to each of the suspected spies and see which one gets leaked. The term was first coined by Tom Clancy in his 1987 bestseller Patriot Games, though much like every successful espionage tactic throughout the ages, it has been used in some form for much longer than that. It's not just military espionage either, as canary traps are being increasingly used to improve cybersecurity in the corporate world too, where theft of intellectual property is fast coming up as a major problem. One data protection system developed by researchers at Dartmouth College, WeForge, uses AI to create different but still plausibly similar copies of a document for storage across the network. This could include anything from drug design data to patents, as well as state secrets, spy data, or pretty much anything that could benefit from it. Whenever there's an attack on the system, the version of the leaked file would reveal precisely where and how it happened, and the cybersecurity team would know exactly which vulnerabilities to fix to make the network stronger against similar attacks in the future. Number 1. Sexual espionage. While you'd think that using sex for obtaining state secrets is something that only happens in movies, you'd be surprised how widely it's used in the real world, and to great success too. Perhaps one of the oldest methods of espionage, it works exactly how you'd expect. An operative gains access to a high-ranking official by the traditional method of seducing them and gains access to whatever they need. It's so obvious that it shouldn't work, though many leaked and declassified reports prove that it still does. One particularly famous example of the honey trap, as the tactic is colloquially called, was Mata Hari, a German spy convicted of seducing French officers and leaking their secrets to Germany during World War I, even if some historians have expressed doubts about her culpability. Then there's the case of Marita Lorenz, who was reportedly in a relationship with Fidel Castro and later recruited by the CIA to kill him. She developed cold feet at the last moment, however, thwarting yet another one of the agency's many attempts on Castro's life. These examples are hardly rare too, as sex has been systematically used for espionage by some of the best intelligence agencies of their times, like the KGB and Mossad. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you again to Blinkist for sponsoring it, link to them below, and thank you for watching.